Neil Walker joining us now on that Fan Hotline, presented by Sullivan Super Service, providing trusted plumbing and HVAC service for over 50 years. Neil, do you get giddy not just because you're excited to watch Paul Skenes, but does this connote feelings of your big league debut, buddy?
Well, no, I mean, my debut was September of 2009 in Cincinnati, and neither teams were in a competitive environment. So you can imagine what that whole environment was probably like. But nonetheless, individually, of course, that's every kid's dream, or every baseball playing kid's dream, is to finally step foot in that major league stadium. And when you get that opportunity, it doesn't matter if you're a first overall pick or an undrafted free agent, you are as excited as anybody. So I know the nerves will be rolling for him tomorrow, but I, for one, am excited to be on the front lines down there at the ballpark watching it.
Neil, how would you handle Skenes? Would you let him be himself, or would you tinker with him? I mean, even from now until, for the end of the year and next year, like, would you tinker with his game, or would you just let the 6'5", 245-pound 22-year-old that throws 100+ miles per hour just be himself?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and you have to let him go. You have to let him be himself. You have to, more than anything, you want your guys to be comfortable with what they're doing. Garrett Cole, when he got up, they really wanted him to throw sinkers. They wanted him to be a ground ball guy. Charlie Morton wanted him to be a ground ball guy, and you understood it. And of course, I'm no pitching savant as far as understanding mechanics and so on and so forth, but we all saw what happened when those guys went somewhere else and they were no longer throwing sinkers or sinker slider combination. They got into organizations where they said, all right, you know what, you got a great arm, you can throw mid to upper 90s, and you can spin the baseball, so we're gonna mix the analytics with that and maximize those things. So I think that Paul Skenes is ahead of the curve as far as that's concerned. And when you have 102, 103 in the back pocket, that's going to get you out of jams in a lot of instances.
And it seems, and Neil Walker's our guest here on the Fan Morning Show, that he knows how to pitch too, and he's got that arsenal. Like, I don't think of him as a hurler or a thrower up there, Neil. It's why he is considered to be, and we've seen, as big league ready as people believe he is.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, You look at the fastball velocity, number one. You look at the fact that he not only can move balls in on lefties with spin, but he can move balls away with the split change. So it'll be interesting to see. I always feel like the first time through, when guys see, especially pitchers of this caliber, the Strasburgs was there obviously for his first game. The pitcher always seems to have the upper hand. I know we've kind of talked about that before. So, and for me, it's always that second time through the order or the second game against an entire lineup that you kind of see if guys have that ability to not only adjust on the fly, because hitters are going to adjust after they understand what your fastball does and all that. But more than that, it's about figuring out ways to continue to get guys out, because once you face a guy 3 or 4 times, he's going to understand what you're trying to do and maybe what you're not trying to do at the same time.
Neil Walker, our guest here on the Fan Morning Show. What I love about Neil is that you booked yourself, Neil. You just texted me. You're like, hey, can I come on? Hell yeah, man. Like, you just love ball. You went 1 for 4 in that Strasburg debut. Did you get, I do not remember, did you get the hit off of Strasburg?
I can't remember.
I'm gonna look up the play-by-play right now.
Okay, I think I might have got a hit after he came out of the game, but I think he struck me out once. I think I had a weak ground ball, but I do think there was maybe a.
You got him, man. You got Strasburg.
Look at
you
that.
got the single to right field, Neil. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you, boys.
What was it like facing him, though? Because every eyeball in America was on that game, and with all due respect, nobody was watching for Neil Walker to go up there and get a single. So, what was it like facing that level of phenom?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we were the road team, so and it wasn't our guy throwing, and that's a lot of times why you see these guys throw for the first time at home, because they're going to number one, they want to maximize the excitement, but also they want to see if they can put a butt in every single seat and on the rotunda and hanging out on the street, which is probably going to be the case on Saturday. But it was crazy. I mean, we knew coming in what he had and how good he was, but guys were coming back. I'll never forget. I think Starling Marte was in the lineup that day. I'm almost positive, but he may not have been in the lineup. But somebody came back after the first at bat and saw the big breaking ball for strike 3 and was like, "Oh man, is that nasty?" And usually you don't get many of those type of comments once you get to the big leagues because everybody's pretty nasty. But what was impressive about Strasburg, even though it felt like his career ended a little early with injuries, was that just as I was talking about earlier, he adapted as time went. When his velocity started to drop, you saw him become more of a control guy and a command guy and a guy that wanted guys to put balls in play with sinkers and changeups and sliders. So the evolution of a pitcher is very important. But for a guy like Skenes right now, just like Dorn said, let him go, let him off his leash. Of course, he's going to be on a pitch count per se. You hope that at some point it creeps up toward the 100 number, but you hope he's able to maximize those 100, 102, 103 mile an hour fastballs and really give this team a jolt that it needs, not necessarily from the pitching side, but a jolt maybe to get that offense going as well.
Neil, what do you expect out of Nick Gonzalez? Kind of flying under the radar, and rightfully so. I mean, Paul Skenes getting called up 1-1 guy. I mean, we're all excited about it. But Nick Gonzalez was a top 10 pick. He played a little bit last year in Major League Baseball, and he's been doing very well in Indy. Like, what do you expect out of him this time around if he does get into the lineup tonight as we kind of expect him to be?
Well, the biggest thing that I noticed with Nick last year was he just didn't seem settled. He seemed very much not necessarily in tune with his approach. It was almost like he was stepping in the box and just swinging at the first thing that was thrown, and that just isn't going to work at the big league level. And to be fair, when guys get to the big leagues, of course they want to make an impact right away. So your first reaction is to be super aggressive, and everything that I'm hearing and everything that I'm seeing from the minor leagues, of course the numbers are really good, but the peripherals are very good. He's gone from 26% strikeout rate last year in AAA to I think 16 or 17, which is, obviously the pitching is not across the board what it's going to be in the big leagues. But I've talked to John Baker, and he said that last year, going into last offseason, they challenged Nick and said, "Hey, listen, this is what we're seeing. You need to get a little more length in your swing after contact because you're getting in and out of the zone too quickly, which leads to a lot of misses and a lot of foul balls." And they were able to give him some information to take into the offseason. And as soon as spring training rolled around and he started to get a bulk of at bats, and now he's got a bulk of bats in minor leagues, what he was doing in the offseason has clearly been working. So he's making a ton more contact, and it's not just contact. He's got an OPS over 1,000. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the lineup tonight and kind of has a semi-decent leash to see what he can do. And because that's the only way you're going to get settled is if you have that leash to suck up those 0 for 10s or to suck up the 10 for 10s. You have to have that leash as a young player to get settled and to really delve into that approach.
Neil, I don't know if you're just being humble or if you truly did forget, but you scored a run in that Steven Strasburg debut. You were on third base when Delwyn Young hit that home run, man. How about that?
Right. I do now. It's coming back to me. I'm getting old and senile, I guess. But I didn't remember. It was so crazy there that day that I didn't remember. I just remember we lost and a lot of people struck out. So,
and
I knew that I was one of them.
No offense to this guy. I mean, it's not like you had a ton of protection in the lineup either, Neil. You had Lastings Millage batting behind you. I don't know that I need to do him dirty like that, but I kind of did. All right, last thing here for you, Neil. What's a comp for this guy? Like, does Skenes remind you of anybody?
Yeah, I mean, he does. The arsenal reminds me of Strasburg. The size, the effortless fastball. That's probably the best comp from a actual pitch arsenal standpoint. Now, of course, time will tell, but Strasburg was fastball, curveball, and a tiny bit of change when he got to the big leagues, and he was 97 to 100 consistently with the fastball, and the curveball had a ton of bite to it. Paul's got a very similar arsenal, so I think you start there. I would warn people listening that try as hard as you can not to tie Jared Jones to Paul Skenes. Just from the sheer standpoint of everybody's different when they get to the big leagues. Jared Jones has shown a really good acumen for throwing strikes, which is not easy to do for a young guy too. And I'll say the thing, when you get to the big leagues, as I said, everything seems to be moving faster and faster. Sometimes it's hard to throw strikes. And if you're consistently behind 1-0, 2-1, 3-1 at the big league level, it doesn't matter how hard you throw, you're going to get whacked. And I'm not saying that Paul is that type of pitcher, but I'm saying Jared Jones has done such a good job in that category. It's led to a lot of success for him. And if, a couple starts go by and Paul is trying to get his footing from that standpoint, just do yourself a favor and don't try to throw him in the same category as Jared, because they both, in my opinion, are going to be really, really good pitchers. But the access, the apex to getting to stardom, at that peak, 26, 27, 28, 29 years old, is different as well. So put him in his own category, enjoy it more than anything else, because this is a special, special talent, one that we haven't seen in a long time. And I know I will be in the club level having some beers myself. So if you're up there, come see me.
Love it, Neil. Enjoy the weekend, man. Enjoy the baseball. Thanks for hopping on.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks,
That's
Neil.
a great Neil Walker, the humble Neil Walker.
Very humble. I think he did forget.
I actually think he forgot.
I saw his eyes flickering, and he was like, "Did I hit a kid?"
I should have known that information on the front end too, if he had a hit in that game, and he did.
Yeah, he did.
And he scored a run.
Wow.